Greetings! This is Yannis Kombatsiaris with the Apocalyptic Knights, and today this is a much awaited video about the greatsword that I promised about a year ago, I think. So one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, which is about how the Landsknecht Greatsword swordsman fought, is that there was a video from another YouTuber who made a video about that particular topic. He had some kind of weird theory that the Landsknecht were making something like a windmill pattern. He made it with his hands, not with a greatsword, because he didn't have one. But if he made it with a greatsword, he would see that this is not possible, and that this is how they were swiping away all the pole arms in the pike formations they had to face. So I'll just demonstrate why this is not possible, because the greatsword is not a good weapon for performing an Unterhau with. Any kind of Unterhau is very likely to touch the ground with a greatsword. And I'm not a short person, I'm 187, so I believe most of the swordsmen of the Landsknecht were shorter than me. So they were far more likely to hit the ground with an Unterhau. Plus, you're going against gravity, and if you swipe a polearm upwards like that, it can also come down. In the case of a pike, not so much of a problem. In the case of a halberd or a bill or something like that, a lot more of a problem. So it's quite clear to me that the way they were striking, the first strikes they were making when they were coming in contact with pike formations, were not Unterhau for sure, they were Oberhau. Now, the thing with the polearm is that it's a pike, it's a shaft that it's coming to you, and if you strike it vertically, you're not going to hit it, because it's like this, you strike like this, they don't cross. So the way I believe this was used by those elite swordsmen is that once they were getting in range, and I might also remind you that the swordsmen that were using those greatswords were paid double. They were called Doppelsoldner, something like that, double money soldier basically, than the rest of the troops, because they had high casualties, and they also needed to be really good swordsmen, and they were wearing at least half plate or full plate armor. And if you're wearing plate, a pike glances off. There is almost no chance that a pike will penetrate plate. Maybe it will find gaps, but if you're running and you're moving very fast, especially if you change angles, which is what I believe they were doing, it's very difficult for the pike to find any gap. It will just strike the armor once, and then you are in range, and then they are in trouble. So I think the way that they were used is that the Landsknecht swordsmen were just advancing towards the pike formations in a straight line, and the last moment they would switch direction so they can strike the pikes from an angle, because that's the only way to strike a pike. With an Oberhau, which is stronger because you use gravity, and also you can also maybe trap the pike on the ground. If you strike it like this, it can stop on the ground, and then it has some resistance, so you can break it. Otherwise you cannot break it striking upwards. So the two main positions that a pikeman or a halberdier or anything will have a spear wall against you is here and here. Not this way, of course. You will be like this or like this with the pike. So he's not going to be on the other side, because most people are right-handed, and a right-handed person on the left side is weaker. So they will be here. So which way the Landsknecht zwei-hander soldier would strike would be determined by how they hold the pikes or the halberds, the polearms on the other side. So since they will be holding them almost definitely on their right side, because the right hand is the strongest, and that's the right side of the body is the strongest, so they want to have them here, not on the left side, either here or here. And they are mirrored, they are on the other side of him. He would have to attack to his left, because they are like that on the other side. So their left side is the one that is not having the pike, and it's the weakest one. It's really hard to defend. I mean, on the right side you might be able to catch something with the pike, But if you are holding it like this or like this, and you are attacked on your other side, it's really difficult to defend in comparison. So since they knew the job, they were professionals, and they wanted to exploit every possible small detail, I'm pretty sure they probably attacked to their left. And that's the reason why you can see that their left, usually if they were wearing half plate and they had to cover just part of their body, the part they were usually surely covering is the left leg and the left shoulder, because this is the way they would advance to attack. So this would be in the front. So once they would get in range, they would just walk or run, basically. They would run, and then they would switch and attack to the left. And this way, they could swipe away several pikes in one strike. And once they got in range of the pikemen would be in trouble, because the pike formation depends on those pikes that they just cut to pieces, and they now can strike them with impunity almost. Now, that other person that made the video about this subject was speculating that once they got in range, they would have sword, they would grab the sword here, and they would start poking at people. I really don't believe they were doing that at all, because the advantage that this has is that it's got a huge blade, and you're attacking an unprotected pikeman who now cannot really defend once you're past his spear point. And you don't want to let, I mean, he may move a little bit to the front or to the back, and you want to be able to have full range and attack others as well, because they have pikes. You have to attack them before they even try to find a way to sneak their pike and strike you. So you would surely just cut your way through the pikemen using the huge mass of this sword. And if you get too close, you wouldn't use half swording necessarily. I mean, they had the Katzbalger, I think it was called, that side short sword that they had, the Landsknecht. If you wanted to stab somebody from really close, you could just pull this out and then stab them. You don't need to use this sword to do it. This sword is designed with a lot of protection in order to swipe with every strike, to swipe as many pikes as possible, and with a lot of mass and momentum in order to crush them. So this is the way it was used, in my opinion, and that's how the Landsknecht swordsmen were so effective, and why they existed, and why they were in that super professional mercenary army which was the Landsknecht. And I'd like to hear your opinions of that. Until the next time, thanks for watching, be well and take care.